Block Ram 313 back at it again. You know why? Because this is therapeutic, man. It is an honor and a privilege to be here once again to share my thoughts and my ideas, and for us to exchange those thoughts and ideas in the comments section. This is an Ibmore channel, introspective, black man of reform. Shout out to The Last Crucible, Adigun Force, T40, Black Gnostic Speaks, and many more who are using the Ibmore label and believe in its tenets and principles. Shout out to all of you. Friendly reminder, my channel has been and is under attack. I know not how much longer I will be able to produce content on this channel. Therefore, for those who find value in my words and in my work, feel free to not only share these videos, but to use my content and reproduce it on your individual channels, if you will. And having said that, let's jump right into the subject at hand. The title of this video is how to know, how to understand, how to detect, how to know if you are a simp. Now, we all have come to a level of knowledge called the red pill. And in times past, many of us, present company included, speaking of myself, have or may have done some simping things or have been a full-fledged simp at one time or another. But we have changed our ways. And part of therapy is to recognize simping behavior for what it is. And if you find it within you, to root it out, to agitate, to pull out the simp and crush him, to no longer simp. So we want to defeat that inner simp, so to speak. We want to refrain from simping and simp-like behaviors. These behavior patterns are indeed an enemy within. So how do we define a simp? What does it mean to be a simp? Well, what a simp is what a simp does, simply that. When I think about the word simp itself, gives the idea of a man who's weak, someone lacking rationale, someone lacking logic, a male who has no backbone, one who puts all women on a pedestal, or any woman for that matter. In the mind of a simp, no female is ever wrong for anything that she does. In fact, in the mind of a simp, all women are essentially good. And on the contrary, all men are actually bad in the mind of the simp. The female can do no wrong, the male can do no good. They praise the mother only, forget about the father. And the so-called pro-black simps believe that the BW is God, which from this point on I would no longer, if I can remember, sometimes we have a slip of the tongue, but I would no longer say the word and speak it out, BW, or even use the term BW. I would now refer to these that we know of as the succubus or the succubi. If you don't know what a succubus is, look it up and feel free to share with us in the comment section. I won't go into the definition right now. So in the future, BW will be replaced by succubus or succubi when referring to a large number of them. Now, simps make up, at least in my estimation, 90% of the male populace. Simps make this current age, this current world, a girl's world. I believe simps are responsible on a grand scale for gynocentrism and feminism. And of course, the corresponding laws associated with those ideologies, which were given to us by the biggest simp of all, Daddy Government. Now in Chicago, Chi-Town, where I'm from, we use certain terms. May not be true in your area, but bear with me. We use certain terms to describe certain behaviors of certain segment of people. Has nothing to do with race, so to speak, or even gender. But in Chicago, we use terms like lame, goofy, a mark. And when I was growing up in the 90s, we used a term called goofy mark or goofy mark. Now, I know that sounds pretty urban, but the idea expressed in these terms is the idea of a male or anyone who has a specific or a type of weakness to their character. Someone who can be considered as dim-witted, naive, someone that are easy or who is easy to be taken advantage of. Someone who lacks a certain dignity, a certain pride, a lack of a certain self-worth. Someone who is not to be taken seriously. And most notably, someone who is not worthy of respect in any way. In fact, unworthy of even respect you would give most human beings. Now, in my opinion, a simp is a goofy. But specifically when it comes to the opposite gender, females. He is a mark. He is a victim. He is naive. He is to be disrespected from a lack of self-respect that he has for himself. You don't respect him because he lacks pride and dignity as a man, especially when it relates to women. And although a woman, she will marry a simp, of course, after being ran through by various thugs and so-called alpha males. But even she will never respect the simp because deep down inside she knows that she is herself unworthy. And that this man is filled to the brim with weakness. A weakness that is so nauseating that she has to put on her best act to pretend that she's even into him. And yes, she will marry him. But even she knows he's not even worthy of respect. But she will deal. Of course, once she's hit that wall and hit it hard. Now to the discussion, how can we detect if you are a simp or not? How can I detect if I am simping? So I'm going to give some characteristics to help us define the simp. And if you find this within you, purge it out. This is therapy. Talk it out. Admit to your faults. Repent and turn from your simping ways, church. Because we want to improve. Isn't this what therapy entails? Isn't this what therapy is about? Proactive change. Starting within you. We want to absorb the red pill and be better men and stand on principles, which the simp indeed cannot do. And we want to separate ourselves as far as east is from west from the simp and simping. And for some of us, this may be a lifelong task. However, we seek to improve day by day. So here go a few signs of simping. I got about 14. And again, feel free to add to this list because this list is not exhaustive. Number 1 on my list of the characteristics of the simp is he who wipes up a single mother. I can't think of a stronger show of simpery and simping than the idea that you are not worthy in yourself to create your own family. Any man who wants a family, and although that's very dangerous in this day and age, should at least have the dignity and self-respect and rationale to at least take care of his own family, to impregnate his own woman, and have her bear his children, instead of getting a family that is already made for you without your biological input. I can think of not many things that are weaker and lacking of self-respect and dignity and pride and manhood than the men who want to pay for the mistakes of the alphas, so-called, and the thugs, and take care of someone's baby mama. How weak do you have to be to want to do a thing like that? And I'm going to expand. Number 2, along with that, is any man who takes care of any woman's children under any circumstance. I've listened to many different YouTubers and heard many different videos, and I have a principled disagreement with many of them. And this is not to beef or cause any strife. This is not malicious. This is not a put down. But I do challenge the level of red pill to any man who believes that it is another man's job to take care of a woman who has children, given the prerequisite of that man having children himself. In other words, many YouTubers have said it is okay to wife up a single mother if you also have children as well. This reeks of equality. This is not true manhood and masculinity. This is not the way of Ibmore. Maybe other philosophies, but I am staunch and strongly against that. For me, it does not matter if you have 1 child or 8 children by 8 different women. For you to go and wife up a single mother with your 8 children by 8 different women, for you to go and wife up a single mother yourself, to me that lacks the character of manhood necessary to call yourself red pill. Now, if that is red pill to wife up a single mother, although you have children, let me know, and I will never use the term red pill to describe my way of thinking again. And I will separate myself ideologically from the so-called red pill community. If red pill means to make a woman your equal in any way and under any circumstance, then red pill is not a strong enough pill for me. Maybe we need to take another pill. Just let me know. So fundamentally, in my opinion, you are a simp if you wife up or take care of any man's children. Encourage other men not to fall into the trap of wifing up somebody's baby mama. You should have enough self-esteem to not want to take on someone's burden and baggage, to pay for a woman's lack of self-control and discipline. And I think this form of simping is the biggest for black males. We deal with women in the worst situations possible because as black men, our self-esteem is in the toilet of the lowest degree. We take the lowest of low do not wife up the single mother. Deal with her, yes. Wife her up, no. And at least you may do a little something different or move the relationship a little bit forward once those children get grown or become adults, But even when they're adults, there will always be mama's baby. So tread lightly and carefully. Number 3. A simp is one who wants to be platonic friends with the opposite gender. He believes in male and female friendships in general, platonic friendships, not realizing that you gain nothing from friendships with women. You gain absolutely nothing. And there is no reason to just be friends. That is simp behavior and simp thinking. And most men think this way. A man, number 4, who always pays for the date. You mean to tell me when you go out to dinner or to a movie, you always have to pull out your wallet, even if she has a job? You always pay? And she got money in her pocket, and that's not your live-in lady who takes care of the house, but indeed she has her own thing going and you pay? That is a serious sign of simping in my book. Number 5, the simp is one who constantly takes up for women, no matter what the circumstances, and not only takes up for women, but will also risk his own safety and freedom to do so. It is his job to save any and every woman who may be in any distress of any kind, even distress or circumstances of her own making. It is his job to rescue, to swoop down. It's a bird, it's a plane, it's Simp Man. He obligates himself. He would even sacrifice his own life for a woman and women that he does not even know. The forever disposable utility, volunteering to be just that, and is happy with this position and wouldn't change it for the world. Powerful simp behavior. Number 6, the simp is also one who believes that his mama is perfect. What'd you say about my mama? She's exempt from all ills. She is the embodiment of perfection, never needing any correction in the past, the present, or future. No one is perfect, not even your mama, Buster. Number 7. The simp is one who believes that his woman can have male friendships, especially because you may have female friends. Again, making himself equal with his lady, If you can do it, she can do it, and vice versa. There is no boss or head of the relationship. She has male friends, you have female friends, and it is okay and all right. Although you shouldn't have female friends, because which one of them are friendly, principally? But you excuse her behavior. And it's cool for her to go out for dinner and drinks with her male counterparts. That is simping as simping can be. They believe in equality. You can do it, I can do it. An equitable relationship is a relationship of that of a simp. I know you love it. Number 8. And I'm going to repeat this again because it bears repeating. This shouldn't be number 8, but I'm going to say it again. Saying or thinking is okay. Saying or thinking that it is okay to live with a woman with kids if you have them too. I expressed that already, but it's such a potent point, I want to make it again. Because this is the highest form or the lowest form of male devaluation. Number 9, a simp is one who depends on a woman for money. Any man not being autonomous must seek with all of his being, with all his breath, his strength, and his energy to being autonomous. There are men who are in certain situations where they may depend on their mothers for a certain point, or at a certain point, for a certain length of time, or even a female he's engaged in within a relationship. We all have been there, fallen on hard times. That's to be understood. However, your number one goal after breathing should be pushing. You should be pushing now to be an independent man. Only a simp is dependent on a woman for his income, for his survival, for his living space. For a time, understood. The world is a hard, brutal place, and failure is an aspect of living. However, no man should ever, ever, ever be comfortable with dependency on a woman. Even if she's rich, you should have something going on to the degree where if she leaves you, you will have something for yourself. So the simp here doesn't mind and is comfortable being dependent on a woman for his sustenance. Number 10, talking about the characteristics now of a simp behavior and simping. Number 10. Having to answer to or check in with a woman for any reason. I know that's difficult for a lot of you because you believe that it is your duty to check in and answer to a woman, equality and partnership. But that is simp behavior. As a male, you're supposed to be the head. Even if you don't believe in the Bible, doesn't nature tell you that logic should lead? Some men have proposed that the female is 80% irrationality, although said people say the term or speak the term emotional. But there's nothing wrong with emotions or emotional. And I don't think that's the right definition to say that the opposite gender are emotional. Therefore, they shouldn't lead and only follow. And although that may be true, I think the stronger word, the more powerful word, instead of saying she's a woman, she's emotional, I think a better word, we should replace that word emotional with irrational. So a male is mainly rational, the female is mainly irrational, with very few exceptions to the rule. So you should be the leader, the head. So if you have to check in with your woman, you have to consult with your woman. You have to answer to her. Be accountable to her. Checked by her. If you have to be evaluated by her. Corrected by her. Then you are indeed a wonderful simp. And I understand many of us have this situation, but seek to change these things around if it's even possible. Some of us are too far gone. And for those who are too far gone, my prayers and my heart goes out to you. Number 11. Signs of simping. Any man who has been exposed to red pill knowledge and still gets legally married is on the inside a simp. Now, there are men who have taken the red pill and absorbed it after they were married. I'm not talking about them. But for the man who decides to seek to understand female nature, to take the red pill, to break out of the matrix, but to still decide to get legally married, to marry the state and the system, knowing what you know about female nature, the paradigm which we now live, the laws, the legalities, the pitfalls, the issues, you indeed are a simp. Number 12, signs of simping. A male who does anything for the sole purpose to impress any woman. Whether that's a new car, cars, jewelry, clothes, tattoos. If your sole purpose for doing any of those things, and think deep within yourself now, you don't have to convince me. What is your primary motivation for that luxury car? What is your primary motivation for those new shoes? What is your primary motivation for those tattoos, those clothes? Is it to impress women? Is it to impress her? Now, there are men who like to dress, the dandies. That's part of their personality. I get it. But even for you, if your sole purpose is to impress, then you indeed are a simp. Now, what about the men who do dress well and attract women for doing so? The only exception that I would have to say that would make that man not a simp is the man who has his own peculiar and unique style of dress that's specific to him and his taste. But if you're a man and you love labels, in my opinion, you love labels because you're more ladylike. You're more ladylike. And that's fine. You can do what you want to do as a grown man. However, if the primary motivator is to impress a woman, then I believe, in my opinion, that you are a simp. Do you men agree or disagree? Moving along. Number 13, which kind of goes along with number 10, having to check in, but it's a tad bit different. Number 13 is allowing for fidelity checks by your woman. I mentioned this in a video before. Excuse me. And a commenter wanted more clarity on what is a fidelity check. A fidelity check is simply this. When a woman goes through your phone, when a woman goes through your closets, when a woman goes through your drawers, your dresser drawers, when a woman cause you to see where you are. When a woman checks up on you to make sure you're not seeing another woman, that's a fidelity check. And any man who submits himself to those things, I'm sorry, you are a simp. Now, maybe in other philosophies and circles, this is acceptable. Not with Ibmore men. Ibmore men lead and lead only. No compromising. You're either going to stand up and be a man and own and control and dictate the pace of the relationship, or maybe you shouldn't be in one. Know what kind of man you are. But a principled man, a disciplined man, a man who honors rules and regulations and tenets higher than himself, a man who lives by his own masculine will and authority, will not subject himself now to fidelity checks. A woman checking up on you to make sure you're being so-called faithful. Do not allow it. Now, again, I understand that there may be difficulties for those men who are in relationships like that. However, at least recognize this as simping and at least attempt to correct the behavior. You be the judge. These are the characteristics of simping now. Number 14. Again, a lot of these are redundant, but I need to make the points again for clarity's sake. This is a redundant list, but hear me out. Number 14. A man who always, no matter what, will defend the misbehavior and actions of women involved in whoredom. One who thinks a woman should never be responsible for her own actions. Who should never suffer negative consequences to negative behavior. Who believe all her actions, negative ones, are solely a man's fault, and all her positive behaviors are simply the virtue that is within her. This is the most common sign of simping. These are the internet trolls that come to my channel and many others, berating us, insulting us, cursing at us, hating us for what? Because we tell the truth about female nature? Because we set a standard of male behavior? Because we consult, uphold, and uplift certain principles? That we share these thoughts and ideas in the brotherhood for iron to sharpen iron? The trolls are everywhere. They are illogical and irrational, and their behavior is just like the female. If you checked out my video, or if you would like to check out my video called Her Illogic, in that video, the same line of thinking that refers to the female gender also refers to the simp. It's not exclusive to the female, but it also applies to the modern male. Illogical behavior. Simp thinking mirrors female thinking, lacking logic and reason. Simping is what simping does. You think just like a simp, who in turn you think just like a girl. Not only just a girl, but a feminist. A simp indeed is a feminist. And even goes further, third wave feminism. The simp is one who loves and wants to completely submit to female feminine energy and worships female energy. Again, this list is not exhaustive. As an audience, I had asked for you to add to this list if you are able to. What are the signs and behaviors of simping? What are the principles that simps trample over? What are the principles that we should uphold, being the opposite of the simp? And as I bring this video to a close, I would like to add another list. A list in order to explain further and give an example of simping and simpery. I've composed a list of 11 modern simps in our society and given a brief explanation to or as to why these men are simps. Excuse me. So bear with me as we go through this list of the 11 modern simps. And this list is in no particular order of simping or simpery. Number 1 on my list of the top 10 modern simps, Kanye West. Kanye West is a simp in my list and on my list because he has made so many skanks famous. I view him as weak, and he loves to pedestalize. He has made skanks rich and famous. Kanye West, simp supreme. Number 2, Wiz Khalifa. I don't know a whole lot about modern rap music. I'm a 90s guy myself. But what I've heard, even though I can't even think of one song by Wiz Khalifa, I've heard that he's wifed up the same woman that Kanye West made famous in Amber Rose. Wiz Khalifa, you are a simp for wifing up the bust down, for wiping up a loose woman. Number 3, football player Russell Wilson for wifing up Sierra, becoming a cuckold, taking care of another man's child, wifing up the baby mama. Russell Wilson, the football player, you are indeed also a simp supreme. And these men especially, because you're rich. I wish I could show you guys how a man is supposed to do these things, how an Ibmore man is supposed to do these things. If I had the riches, I will show you how you should deal with women. And when you're a multi-millionaire, your self-esteem is so low, you're such a punk, you're so weak that you'll take up women who are severely used and wife up every industry guy's baby mama. Ridiculous. It's hard to respect any of these men. So number 3 is Russell Wilson for being a cuckold for Sierra. Number 4, any man who has or will see Jennifer Lopez as anything more than a late night rendezvous after several drinks. Any woman who has or will or is dealing with Jennifer Lopez, seeing that, watching her career from On Living Color being a dancing girl, seeing how she's been ran through by the whole industry, to view that anything more than a one night thing, you are indeed a simp. Number 5, the billionaire who married and impregnated Janet Jackson after she's hit the wall so hard. And in being in Muslim and Islamic Arab culture, you should know better, billionaire. Because your culture teaches you something a little different from American culture, but you still wifed her up and gave her a baby. The bunker busting, wall breaking through Janet Jackson, who's like 50 years old, a billionaire. And that's what you picked for your wife. You simp. Number 6, Drake. For crying so much. All of his songs, he cries and he chases all of the industry prostitutes. He's in love with all of them. One of the biggest simps I've ever seen. And I heard recently he impregnated some woman on InstaThought, or as they call it, Instagram. Now, how weak can you be? A man whose music in these times, in the last few years, has been at the top. But this is your behavior, huh? See, simping is strong. It's like a force. And these men are full of it. They're possessed by the spirit of simping. And Drake is high on the list in the simp order. Number 7, Scottie Pippen. I'm from Chicago, man. Watched him play with the Bulls. Sorry, Scottie, but you're such a lame. You're such a goofy mog for not divorcing or putting away your woman, who you thought was your woman, after being cheated on by another celebrity. I think his name is Future. But instead of putting her away, instead of divorcing her, instead of leaving her alone, what you go and do after being embarrassed that your wife has gotten down with another celebrity, you go and buy her a ring. He probably even apologized. Baby, I'm sorry I made you go cheat on me with Future. Here's a ring. I know it's my fault. I made you cheat. Maybe I wasn't there enough for you. Maybe I was too busy working. Or maybe I don't have enough money, or I'm not famous enough anymore. Because in a simp's mind, it's his fault if his woman cheats on him. It's his fault. This is how women think. It's a man's fault if a woman opens her legs and sleeps with another man. Scotty, by buying that ring, you believe it's your fault, don't you? You are such a simp. Maybe even the biggest simp on this list. Number 8 on my list, speaking of basketball players, Kobe Bryant was in the same situation, except the woman didn't sleep on him. He slept with another woman and then bought her the ring, saying he's sorry. That is also simp behavior, but he's also a simp for telling on Shaq and what he did with women outside of his wife. Kobe is a huge simp, one of my favorite basketball players on the court. But you indeed, Kobe Bryant, are indeed a huge simp. But Scottie Pippen has you beat. Again, speaking of basketball players, another simp on this list, Shaq, for forgiving his wife, not only for cheating, but buying another man that she was sleeping with, a house with his money. How weak can you be? Big as ever, strong on the court, fearless, called herself Superman, but you are a super lame and a super simp. Your wife, I don't know if they're still married, but your wife at the time bought another man a house with your money that she was sleeping with. And forgiveness for that? You are an example of what simps ought to be, Shaquille O'Neal. Number 10, Carmelo Anthony. Not only for wifing up Lala, who's been all through the industry, but also for getting your side chick pregnant. You have $1 million Mr. Bippy in your pants, sir. Ought you be more careful with that? With so much to lose monetarily, to behave in that way makes you a simp. Any man who's willing to blow the money that he's made, the millions that he's made on a skank, is indeed simping in the definition of simp. Last on this list. He's powerful. He's famous. He's unique. He's good. In fact, saying that this man is a simp, I need not to explain why. I can simply say his name, for he is the prince or even the king of all simps in this modern era. He's the most popular of simps. He makes simping look easy. Introducing one of the biggest simps in the world, Mr. Steve Harvey, and any man who likes him. He's simping Super Saiyan. One of the most powerful simps to ever walk the planet. In fact, his whole philosophy and doctrine and teaching and representation is that of a simp. He is the king. Mr. Steve Harvey. And any one of you guys who like Steve, you are a suspect simp yourself. Now again, feel free to add to this list as well, as there are too many simps to possibly even name or go through their history or their simping behavior. But there are many examples out there on how not to be. And if you see that behavior within yourself, again, I say repent. In fact, most of us, present company included, has some simping within us. See, we have gone so far from maleness and manhood standards and principles, self-respect and dignity, that all of us can be labeled as a simp in some way. But specifically, in a sense, I am a recovering simp and so are you. And in a sense, you are a simp and I am too, but we try to distance ourselves from this behavior, and I'm going to prove to you that you're a simp as well. Although there are exceptions to this, and I'm not excluding myself, this is therapy. Now, there is no lying in therapy. I say again, there is no lying in therapy. I say again, there is no lying in therapy. This is how you and myself are both simps, with very rare exceptions. Because there are some who don't take a part of this behavior, who don't indulge in this type of behavior. And these are men at the highest level. But again, this is therapy, and I am trying to be therapeutic here. I am trying to work out these issues here. But we are all simps. So think about this. How sick are we all to actually put our Johnsons, so to speak, if you know what I mean, exactly where another man has had his? Now, isn't that weird? Isn't that nasty? Isn't that crazy? How far gone are the minds of men to deal with a woman who is a non-virgin, to put what you have in a woman that has had many others in there? Think about that. I barely want to stick my finger where somebody else had their finger. I don't want food that someone else has touched. I don't want something that someone else has eaten off of. But yet we remain as men who take on women who have been, yes, ejaculated in, yes, been with several other men. And we still take that and see it as valuable and treasurable. We wife it up. We deal with it. We sleep with it. We lay next to it. We have it on our side. We sacrifice for it. We live for it. We die for it. We work for it. Now, isn't that sad? So we all have a little bit of simp in us. And there are men who no longer take part in that behavior. And to you, men, you are the wise. You are the ones who are recovered. Teach us your secrets. More of us need to be like you. And then maybe women wouldn't do the things that they do. If we set a standard, if we stop simping, maybe things can change. But we know this is just idealistic. But the coming economic collapse and fall of society, we may be able to start anew and fresh and put an end forever to simping. This is Black Ram 313. Much respect and appreciation for you all. Thank you for listening. I am out.